Today we take you to meet Tony Award-winning Broadway and West End producer Ken Dingledine. He's known for his work on productions like Titanic the Musical and Moulin Rouge The Musical. Recently, he has been involved in the Taiwanese musical Don't Cry Dancing Girls, which is set to debut on Broadway in late January. FTV reporter Stephany Yang sat down with Dingledine to learn more about the show and his vision for the future of Broadway shows.
Ken Dingledine is a renowned Broadway producer with over 30 years of experience in theater, production, and licensing. Recently, he has been involved in the Taiwanese musical Don't Cry Dancing Girls. The musical has already captivated audiences in Taiwan with sold-out performances, and now it will make its debut on Broadway at the Theater Row on 42nd Street from January 23rd to January 25th. This is the first Taiwanese musical to debut on Broadway.
Any kind of theater work, story is so important, right? Telling a good story, and a good story that's relatable, is key. When I saw this show, I fell in love with the message of the show. It's about family relationships. It's about love. It's about, believe it or not, guilt. It's about how we deal with our families. And those things are so universal. And it is something that when I watched the show, I could only think about my own family.
This musical tells a story of three sisters from Yunlin, Taiwan. It explores themes of family, love, loss, as well as the traditions of Taiwanese funeral rites. The first version of the production set to debut on Broadway will be performed in Mandarin and Taiwanese with an English-speaking narrator and subtitles. Dingledine is working to help the U.S. audience connect with the Taiwanese production.
The show here is written for a Taiwanese audience, right? This is the writers are Taiwanese, the composers are Taiwanese, and it's very much written for that audience. We are now going to go through what I would call a new development process in its next chapter. And how do we take this show and make it work for an audience in New York? Language, of course, is a big part of it, but also the cultural references may evolve to be a little bit more understandable for markets in the West. Humor is a big part of this show. This show is wildly funny. And so how do we connect audiences to understand the humor and to get the humor? So these are just some of the processes that we're going to go through, but it is very much a redevelopment of the show. We expect this to continue to evolve, and the next version or iteration that we'll do in the U.S. will be a fully English language version of this, right? And so we will get through the translation process, the cultural translation process. So ultimately, I would see this in a full English language production.
Born into a musical family, Dingledine has been immersed in theater since childhood with over 30 years of experience in Broadway. He has brought several well-known musicals to the stage, including Titanic the Musical, Moulin Rouge, and more. Dingledine is optimistic about the future of Broadway and sees great potential in Taiwan, growing its presence there.
The market is growing. More tickets were sold to a Broadway show last year than any year previously. And so it's a market that the future is becoming younger, frankly. It's seen a lot more influences in the pop music scene, in shows that come from anime or shows that come from other cultures. We're seeing more and more of that in the Broadway space, and I think that we expect that evolution to continue. The set design, those type of enhancement elements, those can come. But the first goal is to tell really good stories, and there's great stories coming out of Taiwan, and that's what we really need to encourage.
Dingledine is bringing Taiwan's first musical to Broadway, and he hopes to continue to bring more content from Taiwan to the world. FTV reporter Stephany Yang and Wu Zhihen in Taipei.